Hi, today I'm going to talk about 10 frequently asked questions about raising multilingual children. I'm a pediatrician in the States and raising 3 children that are bilingual in Japanese and English. Oftentimes, parents wonder how to raise multilingual children and how hard it is. So I'm going to talk about 10 topics of raising multilingual children, such as what language should I speak to my children? Or are they going to be behind in English if they learn other languages as well? I will also cover how to effectively approach different age groups at the end. I'm using Japanese as parents' mother language or heritage language and English as local language, but you can replace it with any language you use. Now I'm going to talk about a lot of research-based established theories of raising multilingual children. I hope you can find something useful to you. First, which language should parents speak to children? This is a question from new parents with a baby usually. The answer is the most comfortable language you use. You know, babies learn a lot of things from how you speak, not just what you speak. How you convey your emotions with your tone of voice or the rhythm of conversation. So it's better if you use the language you're very comfortable with. If you're fluent in multiple languages, then you should probably pick the one that the kids may not have enough input of. For example, if you're in the US and you speak Japanese and English fluently, then you should speak Japanese to the kids. In general, one parent, one language is recommended so that the children won't get confused. Some may wonder, don't they just learn from parents naturally? Yes, that may be the case, but not for too long. Kids may learn conversational language very well from parents, maybe up to 5 years old, but soon they may face the problems of lack of vocabulary, or grammatical errors, or mixing languages. After the school age, it is generally recommended to set a good environment so they can continue to learn more complex elements of the language, such as go to school in that language or having friends or be a part of a community in that language. Generally, they need 5,000 hours of exposure to acquire a language fully. Is it necessary to raise them multilingual? Yeah, I understand. My kids will probably stay in the States, so why learn Japanese or your heritage language? It is totally okay to set your individual goals. Some may choose not to teach the kids their mother tongue, and that's totally okay. But let me mention some of the risks of not learning their heritage languages. They may tend to lack abstract communication skills. When the kids grow older, usually after teenage years, they develop more advanced thinking, like what kind of a person should they get married to, or what happens if you die, or why there is so much evil in the world and what to do with it, or what to do when your friends are mean to you. If they're not having those deep conversations with someone, usually parents, they may not fully develop those communication skills in any language. Some teens may go through identity crisis if they're lacking language part of that identity. Some other problems in the future includes they can't communicate with the grandparents or even parents about serious things like relationships, jobs, life, etc. So something to think about. Does multilingual environment delay my child's language development? No. A bunch of research show multilingualism should not cause speech delay. However, it is often the case that the children don't get enough input or output in their environment, and hence it causes a delay. Also, it is worth to remember that there is what's called silent period when a child enters a new language environment. So let's say a child moves from Japan, enters a school, It is common for the child to not speak much for 6 months or up to a year and a half, and it's totally fine. They're just absorbing that language. Some worry that if they're going to be behind in English if they learn something else. And the answer is, you probably shouldn't worry about it too much. Research shows that when you're learning a language, it actually helps you to learn other languages as well. Because any language you learn, they're developing their cognition, logical thinking, and academics, and that foundation will help them to learn any other language as well. So it doesn't matter which language, just have a strong foundation in at least one language when they're little at least. Is it too much work to raise them multilingual? Yeah, it is, and I understand. It may take a lot of time and effort and money to raise multilingual children. It's a good idea to talk about your wishes for the kids and set realistic goals. Do you want them to just understand or speak, read or write, or know enough to work using that language? It doesn't have to be precise, but those goals should be shared and supported by all caregivers of the child, because learning a language does not happen overnight. It's a lifelong journey. If you think about different levels of multilingualism, some are proficient in multiple languages, but in a lot of people, they are fluent in one language and limited in other languages. Now, it's a problem if all languages are limited for their age, and they definitely need support. What should you do when the kids use mixed languages? Mixing languages happen all the time and in almost every family. Sometimes they're just kidding. Sometimes they just don't know how to say it. And sometimes they're testing you to see your reaction. First of all, don't be angry. Don't make fun of them if they're trying. If you react emotionally, they may close up. Instead, you can gently repeat what they said in Japanese. Sometimes it's hard for kids to talk in heritage language, and they speak whatever is easier for them. It may be helpful to set a house rule of which language to speak to who and stick to it. Now, if they're behind in Japanese, how can they catch up? The most important thing is setting the environment. Kids need multiple environments to practice that language. So if possible, speak Japanese at home, go to Japanese school, and have Japanese friends or something like that is ideal. Kids need both input and output. A lot of kids just listen, but they should have the opportunities to have output. So having friends is great. Going to school in Japan is a great way to boost their Japanese. So they can try that during summer vacation. And a lot of people do, and it's very helpful. They can have good lunch at school and have good friends. They can do that every summer. Learning anything needs consistency. So just 5 minutes every day is actually better than doing it for an hour once a week. Or you can also think about a setting where you can learn in Japanese, such as watching YouTube to learn something or going to karate class in Japanese is a great way to boost Japanese. Lastly, I'm going to talk about different learning stages of childhood so they can learn languages effectively. First stage is up to toddler age until 5-ish. At this stage, input is the key. You can put them in immersion class or do lots of fun songs, rhymes, so they can learn the rhythm of that language. They also develop foundation of reading, writing, starting around age 4. Secrets of talking to a toddler so they can absorb the most is Having a quiet environment. Small children can't focus on one voice if there's a lot of background noise, so they don't play music or have TV on when you're talking to a toddler. You can speak at the level of that child, or maybe just a tiny bit harder than they can speak. So if they're just saying single words, mama, mama, then speak in 2 words, mama 食べるよ. If they're talking in 2-word sentences, like mama 食べたい, then talk in 3-word sentences, mama 食べると美味しいね. When you're talking to a toddler, don't think too much about teaching them. You can just let them lead the conversation and comment on what they're looking at. It's okay to just react. すごいね。高いね。大きいね。It's ideal to have 30 minutes one-to-one time with your toddler for maximum language development. But I know it's so hard. Start with just a little bit. Just 5 minutes of your full attention is so beneficial to the children. Next stage is school-age children, 5 to 8 years old or so. Once they're in kindergarten, it's common that the English takes over so quickly. If they're new to English, then may go through on silent stage for 6 months to 1.5 years. Meaning they won't speak much, and that's okay. At this age, they're developing foundation for conversation and reading. So talk with them a lot and read to them a lot. They also start to notice their ability. So they may say, oh, I'm not so good in Japanese. They need lots of hand-holding, encouragement, and support. Third stage is preteens, about 9 to 12-year-olds. They're even more self-conscious, and they may refuse to say things if they're embarrassed. They're going to be more and more away from parents, and friends become so important. So having Japanese friends is probably the most important key in supporting their language, Japanese development. They develop academic language foundation. It is said that once you're at a good level with Japanese until this age, preteen age, it will stick to them for a long time. Last stage is the teens. They may go through identity crisis, like, am I Japanese? Or which friend do I hang out with? They can develop interest in a lot of different things that you can't even imagine. So use those interests to further develop Japanese skills. Let them watch Japanese dramas, go to anime festivals in Japan, or watch YouTube videos, etc. At this point, there isn't much you can teach them. But instead, showing them that the parents themselves are enjoying things in Japanese is a great way to let them have a positive impression in learning new language. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.